Before we step into the flow of this moment, I want you to quiet your spirit and lean in, because today is not an ordinary day, and this is not an ordinary prayer. This is a divine alignment moment. As we stand at the dawn of a new year, God is summoning you into deeper clarity, sharper vision, and unshakable purpose. There are instructions heaven is releasing, but you must posture your heart to receive. So take a breath, still your thoughts, and prepare to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying concerning your journey, your destiny, and your 2026 assignment. Today, we are coming before God to seek His guidance, not casually, not passively, but intentionally, boldly, and with full expectation. You are not stepping into this new year blind. You are stepping in guided by the light of God, empowered by divine wisdom, and strengthened by supernatural insight. Foundations are being laid, patterns are being broken, new pathways are being opened. What you establish in prayer today will echo through the rest of your year. Heaven is attentive, the gates are open, and God is ready to direct you into the place He has prepared. So I want you to engage fully, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. As we begin this prayer, align your faith with action. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for daily prayers, and comment one thing you're believing God for today. Your declaration is a seed, your engagement is an act of faith, and your expectation is the atmosphere where miracles are born. Let's step in together. Let's speak together. When you step into a new year, the greatest gift you can give yourself is the decision to seek God's direction before you take a single step on your own. There is a calm power that settles over your life when you choose to pause, to breathe, and to ask God, what would you have me do? The world teaches you to chase, pursue, hustle, and figure everything out on your own. But the kingdom invites you into a different rhythm, one of stillness, one of listening, one of alignment. When you seek God first, you are not just praying, you are positioning your entire being under the leadership of the one who sees the end from the beginning. You are saying, I will not move until I hear from you. And that simple posture becomes the very strategy that carries you safely through what others stumble through blindly. It is easy to let the pressures of life make you feel rushed, as though you must make quick decisions or else you'll fall behind. But when you seek God's direction, you realize you can never be behind when you are walking in step with Him. Heaven is never in a hurry, yet it is always on time. God does not operate in anxiety, so when you place your year in His hands, you begin to experience a peace that brings clarity to your step. You realize that every choice, whether big or small, has the power to shape the trajectory of your life. And because of that, you begin to understand why God is calling you to slow down, to listen, and to invite Him into every crossroads you encounter. Seeking God's direction is not simply about asking for answers. It is about cultivating a heart that recognizes His voice in the first place. It is about building sensitivity to the gentle nudges, the quiet impressions, the inner stillness that signals His presence guiding you. Sometimes God speaks in a whisper, not because He wants to be hard to hear, but because He wants you close. He wants you leaning in. He wants you intentional. He wants you aware of His movements. And the more you prioritize His voice, the more naturally it becomes the compass by which you navigate your days. When you make a decision without God, you are relying on limited information, limited perspective, and limited wisdom. But when you pause and ask God to lead you, you tap into something limitless. You tap into supernatural intelligence, wisdom that sees around corners, insight that exposes hidden traps, clarity that reveals opportunities you could have never recognized on your own. There are relationships, commitments, and paths that look good on the surface, but carry destruction underneath. And there are paths that seem risky or unclear that are actually the doorway to your greatest breakthroughs. Only God can distinguish between them. This is why you seek Him first. There will be moments throughout your year when emotions try to dictate your decisions. Fear may try to push you, excitement may try to pull you, pressure from others may try to direct you, but when God is the one guiding you, Your emotions lose their authority. You begin to make decisions from a place of groundedness, not from panic or impulse. In his presence, your heart slows down enough to see what truly matters. And your spirit quiets enough to hear what is truly right. And your mind becomes clear enough to discern what aligns with his purpose for you. Seeking God's direction is also a form of surrender. It is acknowledging that your own understanding, no matter how intelligent or experienced you are, will always be incomplete. It is saying, God, I trust your plan more than I trust my own plans. And that trust creates space for God to guide you into places you never imagined entering. It frees you from the burden of trying to figure everything out. It lifts the pressure of trying to carry the weight of your future alone. Your role is obedience. His role is guidance. Your role is willingness. His role is wisdom. When you embrace that divine exchange, you no longer walk through life overwhelmed. You walk strengthened. There are doors that God wants to open for you this year, but you must be in the right position to access them. Seeking his direction ensures you are not standing in the wrong hallway. There are blessings that require preparation before they can be received. Seeking his direction ensures you don't arrive at the blessing unprepared. There are battles you're not meant to fight and burdens you're not meant to carry. Seeking his direction ensures you don't waste energy where God has not assigned you. Every time you pause and listen, you are realigning your path with the blueprint heaven wrote for your life long before you were born. As you seek God's direction this year, you will notice something beautiful begin to happen inside you. Your confidence will grow, not the kind rooted in your own strength, but the kind rooted in the assurance that God is with you. You will begin making decisions without fear because you know they do not come from your own limited thinking. You will walk boldly because you know God orchestrated your steps. You will feel lighter because you are no longer moving through life in your own strength. And you will notice a calm authority rising within you, a quiet power that comes from divine alignment. There will be days when seeking God's direction feels effortless, but there will also be days when you feel distracted, tired, or spiritually dull. On those days, remind yourself that seeking God is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about longing for him. It is about creating space for him. Even the smallest prayer, Lord, lead me, releases heaven's movement in your life. God honors every attempt you make to hear him. He sees every moment you choose to listen, and he responds not because you are perfect, but because you belong to him. As you start your year, don't just seek God's direction for major decisions. Seek him in the everyday choices that build your character, shape your habits, and determine your growth. Seek him in how you speak, how you think, how you treat people, how you manage your time, how you steward your opportunities, how you guard your peace. The more areas you invite him into, the more areas he becomes responsible for. And God takes care of what belongs to him with extraordinary attention. When you seek God's direction, you also begin to recognize divine timing. Not everything is meant to happen immediately. Some instructions require waiting. Some opportunities require patience. And some blessings require you to grow before you receive them. But when God is guiding you, waiting never feels like wasting. Delays never feel like dead ends. You come to understand that God is not just preparing the blessing for you, he is preparing you for the blessing. And in that preparation, your faith deepens, your discernment sharpens, and your spirit becomes anchored. As you move through this year, there will be moments when you will feel God pulling you away from certain environments, conversations, or relationships. Do not resist that gentle pull. That is his protection. Likewise, there will be moments when God will nudge you toward new opportunities, new people, or new responsibilities. Do not shrink back in fear. That is his promotion. Seeking his direction means trusting that every divine pull and every divine push carries purpose. Throughout this year, make it your habit to stop and ask God, what is your will here? Ask it quietly during the day. Ask it in moments of uncertainty. Ask it when you feel overwhelmed. Ask it when you feel inspired. Ask it when you sense a new opportunity approaching. With each question, you build a life led by the Spirit rather than by circumstance. You create an atmosphere where God can speak, and you cultivate a heart that is ready to follow wherever He leads. Seeking God's direction is not something you do once at the beginning of the year. It is a continuous lifestyle, a daily realignment, a moment-by-moment communion. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. The more you listen, the clearer His voice becomes. And the more you obey, the more confident you become in your ability to discern His leading. Over time, you will begin to walk with a grace that others can sense, a peace that others cannot explain, a wisdom that others cannot ignore. This year, allow God to be your compass. Let Him decide what deserves your attention. Let Him illuminate the paths that lead to life. Let Him remove the options that are beneath your destiny. Let Him sharpen your vision so you see beyond what is visible. Let Him strengthen your spirit so you do not waver when challenges arise. Let Him be the one who establishes the blueprint of your year, day by day, decision by decision, moment by moment. As you seek His direction before making any decision, you are building your year on divine strategy, not human assumptions. You are establishing a foundation that cannot be shaken. You are choosing wisdom over impulse, purpose over pressure, and destiny over distraction. And every time you ask Him to lead you, heaven responds with guidance, clarity, and peace that surpasses understanding. And there is a quiet strength that rises within you when you choose to establish your spiritual foundations early in the year. Establishing your foundation is not about performing religious routines. It is about anchoring your life in what is eternal, unshakable, and divinely aligned. When you take the time to intentionally set your spiritual footing, you create stability in a world filled with shifting circumstances. You create space for God's voice to become the clearest influence in your life. You create room for your spirit to settle into peace, no matter what situations unfold around you. And this is what carries you through the year with grace instead of anxiety, with purpose instead of confusion, with strength instead of weariness. You cannot build a tall structure on a shallow foundation. You cannot sustain greatness on an unstable inner life. You cannot move into higher levels of calling if the ground beneath your soul has cracks. This is why God called you at the very beginning of the year to go deeper, to slow down long enough to examine the structure of your spiritual life. Are you anchored? Are you rooted? Are you aligned? Are you standing on solid ground, or are you being carried by the emotions and pressures of the moment? When you establish your spiritual foundation early, you decide that your life will not be shaped by chaos, culture, or circumstances, but by the principles, wisdom, and presence of God Himself. There is a calmness that comes over you when you know who you are in God before the challenges of the year even arrive. When you start your year grounded, you respond differently to adversity. You see difficulties as temporary. You recognize that storms cannot uproot what has been firmly planted. You begin to walk with a stability that confuses people who expect you to crumble. But you don't crumble because you've already built your inner world on a foundation that cannot be moved. God becomes your anchor, your shield, your stabilizer, and your point of reference. Everything else becomes secondary. Establishing your spiritual foundation early also protects your identity. In a world that constantly tries to pull you into comparison, insecurity, striving, and self-doubt, grounding yourself in God reminds you that you are chosen, loved, and intentionally crafted. When your foundation is in Him, other people's opinions lose their power, pressure loses its grip. You stop needing external validation because internal stability has been established. You start moving from a place of wholeness instead of lack, clarity instead of confusion, confidence instead of fear. Your spiritual foundation shapes how you think. It shapes how you speak. It shapes the decisions you make, the relationships you pursue, the environment you enter, the opportunities you accept, and the paths you walk. When God is your foundation, your life stops being reactive. You become intentional. You listen more than you rush. You observe more than you assume. You move with purpose rather than pressure. You develop the ability to see beyond what is happening and discern what God is doing. You stop living from circumstance to circumstance and start living from revelation to revelation. The beginning of the year is a sacred moment. It is not just a date on the calendar. It is a doorway, a threshold God invites you to cross with awareness, with preparation, with spiritual sensitivity. When you step into a new year without establishing your foundation, you enter unprepared for the unexpected. But when you start your year with a deeply rooted spiritual life, nothing can sway you easily. Disappointments may come, but they do not derail you. Delays may happen, but they do not discourage you. Disruptions may appear, but they do not distract you. Your stability is internal, not external. Every strong foundation requires intentional construction. You cannot build a spiritual foundation through wishful thinking or casual prayer. It comes through consistency, daily moments of silence with God, simple prayers spoken with sincerity, scriptures that recalibrate your thinking, worship that softens your heart, stillness that fine-tunes your spirit to God's frequency. These practices do not make you religious. They make you rooted. They do not make you rigid. They make you resilient. They do not make you distant. They make you deeply connected to the one who sustains you internally. When you establish your spiritual foundation early in the year, you are intentionally creating emotional stability for the journey ahead. You begin to notice that you do not get upset as easily, that your peace is not fragile, that your joy is not dependent on circumstances. You become aware that your spirit feels stronger, your mind feels clearer, your heart feels lighter. And this happens because you are no longer trying to survive the year. You are starting the year with spiritual alignment that strengthens every part of your being. God honors the foundation you choose to build. When you set Him as your priority, He begins to reveal things you could not see before. He begins to open doors that were previously hidden. He begins to close pathways that would have harmed you. He begins to bring clarity where there was confusion. Establishing your foundation is not just spiritual maintenance, it is spiritual strategy. It is choosing to align your life with heaven's blueprint instead of leaving your year to chance. You cannot predict the future, but you can prepare for it by anchoring yourself in God. Your foundation becomes the filter through which you interpret everything that happens. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is God shaping within me? Instead of feeling overwhelmed by change, you learn to embrace it because you know God is directing your path. Instead of panicking when things don't go your way, you lean into faith because your foundation is rooted in trust, not fear. There will be moments this year when your foundation will be tested. Moments when you will feel stretched, challenged, or pushed beyond your comfort zone. But those tests do not come to break you. They come to reveal the strength of what you've built. Strong foundations are not proven in calm weather. They are proven in storms. When you have established yourself spiritually, storms do not destroy you. They develop you. They refine you. They deepen your reliance on God. They strengthen the structure of your character. And when the storm passes, you remain standing, not by accident, but by design. Establishing your foundation also requires you to examine what needs to be removed. Some habits cannot follow you into the new year. Some mindsets cannot go with you. Some emotional patterns must be released. Some relationships require reevaluation. Some environments require distance. God cannot build new structures on old ground that has not been cleared. Establishing your foundation means surrendering anything that threatens your alignment. It means releasing what weakens your spirit, drains your energy, or clouds your clarity. It means being honest with yourself about what supports your growth and what sabotages it. When you take time to build your spiritual foundation early, you are not delaying your progress. You are securing it. You are ensuring that when blessings come, you have the maturity to handle them. You are ensuring that when responsibilities increase, you are not crushed under their weight. You are ensuring that when opportunities arise, you have the discernment to recognize which ones are God's will. Strong foundation does not slow your journey. It stabilizes your elevation. This year, decide that your spiritual life will not be an afterthought. Decide that God will not be your last resort, but your first point of contact. Decide that your peace, your clarity, your purpose, and your spiritual alignment are worth protecting. Decide that you will not live emotionally unstable, mentally scattered, or spiritually ungrounded. Decide that you will meet the year prepared, not because you know what is coming, but because you know who is leading you. Establishing your spiritual foundation early is an act of faith. It is telling God, I am ready to build my life your way. It is telling the enemy, you will not shake me this year. It is telling your future, I am stepping into you with stability. And it is telling yourself, I choose grounding over drifting, growth over stagnation, alignment over confusion. When your spiritual foundation is strong, everything else becomes balanced. Your goals become clearer. Your priorities become healthier. Your relationships become more meaningful. Your decisions become wiser. Your emotions become steadier. Your vision becomes sharper. You live with intention, not exhaustion. You walk with focus, not frustration. You carry peace with you, not because life is perfect, but because your foundation is secure. Establishing your foundation early is not just preparation, it is protection, empowerment, clarity, and alignment. It sets the tone for your entire year. It creates the internal structure that supports your external life. It gives you the strength to rise above what others collapse under, and it becomes the quiet confidence that carries you from one season to the next with grace, wisdom, and unwavering stability. There comes a point in every new beginning where you must make a conscious, deliberate decision to surrender the patterns of your past and invite God to realign your steps with His perfect will for the year ahead. This is not an emotional moment. It is a spiritual turning point. It is the quiet but powerful choice to say, God, I release what has held me and I receive what you are preparing for me. So much of what limits us is not what is happening around us, but what has been happening within us. Old habits, conditioned reactions, outdated beliefs, emotional wounds, fears we've learned to live with, patterns we've carried for years without questioning. When the new year begins, God extends an invitation, a gentle prompting to examine what has followed you from previous seasons and to surrender anything that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Realignment cannot happen while you are holding tightly to what God is asking you to let go of. You cannot step into divine order while clinging to cycles of confusion. You cannot embrace new spiritual strength while protecting old emotional wounds. You cannot walk confidently into the plans God has prepared while entertaining thoughts, behaviors, or relationships that keep you spiritually stagnant. Realignment requires release. It requires honesty with yourself. It requires the humility to acknowledge that your way has not always led you where you hoped it would. And it requires the courage to trust that God's way, though sometimes unfamiliar, will always lead you into greater purpose, greater clarity, and greater peace. There are patterns God wants to break off your life, not because He is punishing you, but because He is preparing you. There are ways of thinking that once helped you survive but are now preventing you from growing. There are habits you formed during seasons of stress that do not serve you in seasons of purpose. There are mindsets you adopted out of fear that cannot coexist with faith. There are emotional responses that were shaped by past wounds but cannot be carried into your future. God sees every hidden cycle that drains you, distracts you, and diminishes you, and He is calling you into a deeper level of freedom, not freedom that comes from trying harder, but freedom that comes from surrendering more. Surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. It is the recognition that your greatest breakthroughs come when you stop fighting God and start yielding to His direction. When you surrender, you shift from self-reliance to divine reliance. You stop carrying burdens that were never assigned to you. You stop forcing outcomes that were never meant for you. You stop repeating cycles that your spirit has already outgrown. And in that surrender, you create space, holy space, where God can step in and reshape your steps according to His design. Realignment is God's response to your willingness to let go. When you open your hands and release the old, God takes what you surrendered and replaces it with something greater. When you lay down your limited understanding, He gives you wisdom. When you let go of fear, He fills you with courage. When you release your anxiety, He pours in peace. When you surrender emotional heaviness, He restores joy. When you give up control, He establishes order. Every act of surrender becomes an act of trust, and every act of trust becomes a doorway into deeper alignment with Him. Throughout your life, you may have developed certain patterns unknowingly, patterns of overthinking, patterns of isolation, patterns of rushing, patterns of pleasing people, patterns of doubting yourself, patterns of operating from survival mode instead of rest. These patterns might feel familiar. Familiarity is not the same as alignment. Familiarity is comfortable, but alignment is transformative. Familiarity keeps you where you've been, but alignment takes you where God is calling you. And God is calling you into a higher, healthier, more spiritually aligned version of yourself. Inviting God to realign your steps means giving Him permission to interrupt whatever does not fit His plan. It means welcoming His adjustments even when they challenge you. It means accepting His redirection even when you don't understand it fully. It means trusting His timing even when it stretches your patience. It means embracing His pruning, even when it feels uncomfortable. Realignment is often a gentle, continuous reshaping, a shift in how you think, how you pray, how you respond, how you interpret situations, how you make decisions. God guides you not only through big dramatic moments, but through subtle inner transformations that gradually recalibrate your entire life. Sometimes God realigns your steps by creating internal restlessness in the areas where you do not belong. You may find that certain conversations no longer feel nourishing, certain habits no longer bring comfort, certain environments no longer feel like home. That discomfort is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of growth. It is God loosening your attachment to what is beneath your calling. It is His way of telling you, you cannot stay here. I am taking you somewhere else. Your spirit recognizes the shift long before your mind fully understands it. When you feel that inner tug, that spiritual stretching, that quiet whisper urging you forward, that is realignment in motion. Other times, realignment happens through clarity, moments where something suddenly makes sense, where confusion melts away, where you see a decision with new eyes, where you finally understand why something happened the way it did. Clarity is one of God's greatest gifts during realignment. It brings order to your thoughts, direction to your choices, and peace to your soul. It removes unnecessary noise and allows you to hear what truly matters. In clarity, you recognize the difference between what is urgent and what is important, between what is temporary and what is purposeful, between what is familiar and what is aligned. Realignment also requires patience. There are moments when God is shifting things beneath the surface, rearranging your relationships, preparing opportunities, closing doors, strengthening your character, healing wounds you didn't know you still carried. You may not see the progress immediately, but God is working. His alignments are precise. Nothing he rearranges is accidental. Nothing he removes is random. Nothing he changes is without deeper meaning. As he realigns your steps, he is shaping your spirit to walk in maturity, resilience, and discernment. As you invite God into the process, you will notice subtle changes within yourself. Your reactions become calmer, your thoughts become clearer, your decisions become wiser, your priorities shift. Your emotional triggers lose their power, your spirit feels lighter. These are the signs that the old patterns are breaking and the new alignment is taking root. They may not feel dramatic, but they are deeply transformative. God's work within you is often quiet, but its impact is extraordinary. There will be moments when part of you wants to return to the familiar, not because it is better, but because it is easier. But don't confuse comfort with calling. Don't confuse old habits with stability. Don't confuse past patterns with peace. The familiar can feel safe, but growth requires stepping into the unknown with God. Realignment will stretch you, but it will not harm you. God does not lead you into anything that does not serve your growth. His realignment is always an act of love, an act of guidance, an act of preparation. As God realigns your steps, he will begin to guide you into new rhythms, new ways of thinking, new ways of handling pressure, new ways of responding to challenges, new ways of connecting with him. You will notice that your perspective shifts. You no longer interpret delays as denials. You no longer see obstacles as barriers, but as opportunities to grow stronger. You no longer make decisions based on fear, but based on faith. You begin walking with a deeper level of spiritual maturity, a calmness that isn't easily shaken, and a clarity that brings peace even in uncertainty. God's realignment often leads to unexpected blessings. The moment you release what was draining you, you make room for what is destined for you. The moment you surrender the past, you open the door to new beginnings. The moment you let go of old patterns, you unlock new spiritual insight. God cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. He must first transform the vessel. He must strengthen your foundation. He must purify your motives. He must refine your character. When you invite him to realign your steps, you are telling him, prepare me for the next level. Shape me for what you are bringing. Correct my course so I do not wander off the path you've ordained. There will be days when the process feels slow, but slow alignment is still alignment. There will be days when you feel stretched, but stretching is a sign of expansion. There will be days when releasing old patterns feels painful, but pain is often the doorway to healing. And through every moment, God remains patient, gentle, and committed to your transformation. He does not rush the process. He perfects it. He does not force alignment. He invites it. He does not demand change. He guides you into it lovingly. Inviting God to realign your steps means you trust him more than you trust your past, your fears, or your own understanding. It means you are choosing spiritual alignment over emotional reaction, divine wisdom over worldly pressure, purposeful change over repetitive cycles. It means you are choosing to walk into 2026 with intention, awareness, and clarity. You are choosing to break free from anything that held you back, slowed you down, or kept you spiritually fragmented. This year, allow God to recalibrate your path. Allow him to expose what no longer serves you. Allow him to heal what you didn't know was wounded. Allow him to break what has been binding you. Allow him to strengthen what has been weakened. Allow him to rearrange what has been misaligned. And allow him to build a new pattern within you, one rooted in peace, wisdom, maturity, and divine purpose. You begin to declare God's wisdom, clarity, and guidance over every area of your life. You are doing more than speaking words. You are shaping your atmosphere, redirecting your thoughts, and aligning your spirit with heaven's frequency. Your declarations are not empty sentences floating into the air. They are spiritual commands that establish order where there was confusion, calm where there was chaos, and focus where there was distraction. Every declaration you speak becomes a seed planted into the soil of your year, and those seeds carry the power to produce supernatural outcomes. When you open your mouth and boldly declare God's guidance, you acknowledge that you are not walking into this year alone. You are walking with the one who crafted the blueprint of your destiny long before you ever took your first breath. There is something profoundly calming about declaring the promises of God. Your spirit settles, your mind becomes still, your heart begins to trust in a new way. You feel a gentle realignment taking place inside you, as if your entire inner world is shifting into divine order. These moments of declaration are not merely acts of faith, they are acts of surrender. You are saying, God, lead me, speak to me, guide me, anchor me. And heaven responds to this posture with peace that cannot be shaken. When you speak God's wisdom over your life, you silence the noise of doubt, fear, and confusion that tries to settle in your spirit. You replace uncertainty with clarity. You replace self-reliance with divine dependence. You replace anxiety with assurance. God's wisdom is not like human wisdom. Human wisdom is limited by experience, knowledge, and perspective. Divine wisdom flows from the one who sees all things, past, present, and future, simultaneously. When you declare his wisdom over your decisions, you are inviting heaven's intelligence into your earthly choices. You are granting God access to guide your steps, reshape your thinking, and illuminate your path. Every time you proclaim, Lord, give me wisdom, you are acknowledging that his understanding is greater than yours. You are affirming that you want his mind to influence your decisions rather than the narrow lens of human reasoning. This humble posture brings extraordinary clarity into your life. Clarity is the gift that removes confusion. It is the spiritual light that reveals what is real, what is purposeful, what is aligned, and what is not meant for you. When you declare clarity over your year, you are asking God to remove the fog that tries to cloud your judgment. You are inviting him to expose distractions, reveal hidden motives, and illuminate the decisions that require your attention. Clarity keeps you from walking blindly. It protects you from settling for less. It saves you from making emotional decisions. It opens your eyes to the truth that lies beneath situations, relationships, and opportunities. Without clarity, you drift. With clarity, you move with intention. God's guidance is the compass that keeps you from wandering off course. When you declare his guidance, you are acknowledging that you do not want to navigate life by guessing or hoping. You want to be led by the Spirit. God guides you in ways you do not always recognize at first. Sometimes he directs you through peace, sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through closed doors, sometimes through unexpected opportunities, sometimes through quiet impressions that settle in your heart. When you declare his guidance, you become more aware of how he speaks. You become sensitive to his movements. You begin to notice subtle shifts that you once overlooked. You begin to trust his leading even when the path looks uncertain. There is a calm that enters your life when you know you are being guided by God. It doesn't mean you will always know what comes next. It means you no longer need to know. Guidance frees you from feeling pressured to predict outcomes or control situations. When you trust that God is directing your steps, you can walk forward without fear. You can make decisions without anxiety. You can move through transitions without losing your peace. You become anchored in the assurance that God will not let you wander into places that are wrong for you. He will not allow you to settle where you do not belong. He will not allow you to miss what is meant for you. His guidance is steady, gentle, and precise. Declaring God's wisdom, clarity, and guidance over your life is an act of spiritual protection. Your declarations establish boundaries around your mind and heart. They guard you from confusion. They shield you from emotional chaos. They create a spiritual barrier that keeps negativity, fear, and spiritual distraction from taking root. When you declare God's words, you are reinforcing your identity as someone who is led by the Spirit, not by circumstances. You are reminding yourself that you belong to a God who speaks, directs, protects, and reveals. Declarations become a daily realignment that keeps your spirit stable and your steps ordered. When you consistently speak God's wisdom over your choices, you begin to notice a transformation in the way you think. Your thoughts become more strategic. Your perspective becomes broader. You stop rushing into decisions. You start discerning the difference between what is urgent and what is important. You begin recognizing which opportunities carry divine assignment and which ones are merely distractions dressed as opportunities. Wisdom shifts how you manage your time, how you respond to people, how you handle pressure, and how you interpret challenges. You no longer approach life from a place of reaction. You operate from a place of spiritual intelligence. Clarity also transforms the posture of your heart. When clarity enters your life, uncertainty loses its control. Situations that used to confuse you no longer shake you. You begin to understand why certain doors closed, why certain relationships shifted, why certain seasons ended. Clarity helps you make peace with what once troubled you. It helps you let go of what is not aligned. It helps you focus on what truly matters. It helps you see yourself, your purpose, and your calling with greater accuracy. Clarity brings calm to your inner world. It brings direction to your choices. It brings peace to your thoughts. Guidance transforms your journey. It changes the way you move through life. You begin to walk with patience, trust, and attentiveness. You learn to wait when God says wait and move when God says move. You no longer force what isn't flowing. You no longer cling to what God is removing. You no longer fear stepping into new territory because you know you are not stepping alone. Guidance teaches you to lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him. And as you acknowledge Him, He directs your path with intentional precision. There will be moments when you feel unsure, moments when you cannot see the full picture, moments when the path ahead seems dim. But when you have declared God's wisdom, clarity, and guidance over your life, you learn to trust even when you cannot trace His hand. You remain grounded even in uncertainty. You remain peaceful even in transition. You learn to walk step by step, breath by breath, trusting that each moment of obedience leads you deeper into alignment with His will. Your declarations also influence your emotions. When your words align with God's truth, your emotions follow. Fear begins to loosen its grip. Anxiety dissipates. Doubt weakens. You begin to feel lifted, held, reassured. You start noticing that you react differently to challenges. You remain calmer. You remain centered. You remain connected to God's presence within you. This is the effect of speaking truth into your atmosphere. Truth stabilizes, truth strengthens, truth steadies. As you move through the year, your declarations become a lifestyle, an ongoing conversation between you and God. You begin each morning by speaking alignment over your life. You end each night by declaring peace. You speak wisdom before making decisions. You speak clarity before responding. You speak guidance before moving forward. These declarations invite the presence of God into your daily rhythm. They create an environment where your spirit remains connected, open, and receptive to His leading. Every time you declare God's wisdom, clarity, and guidance over your life, you are also declaring your trust in Him. You are saying, I believe you will lead me. I believe you will reveal what I need to know. I believe you will show me where to go. I believe you will protect my steps. I believe you will order my path. Trust is the foundation of every declaration you speak. Trust is what opens the door to supernatural direction. Trust is what turns declarations into manifestation. This year, make it a habit to speak life over your journey. Speak wisdom into your decisions. Speak clarity into your mind. Speak guidance into your steps. Your words carry authority. They carry power. They carry spiritual weight. When you speak them with faith, they create a shift in the atmosphere around you. They open the way for God to move. They position you to hear, to receive, and to walk in alignment with divine instruction. As you declare these truths, they begin to reshape the way you move through life. You walk more gently. You walk more intentionally. You walk more confidently. You walk with a calmness that comes from knowing you are guided by a source far greater than yourself. You carry a quiet assurance that God is involved in every detail, every decision, every transition, and every opportunity. His wisdom becomes your foundation. His clarity becomes your lens. His guidance becomes your compass. Declaring God's wisdom, clarity, and guidance over your life becomes a spiritual anchor, a steady force that grounds you, directs you, and prepares you for every season ahead. It cultivates a peace that surpasses understanding, a strength that does not waver, and a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken. And as you continue to speak these declarations, they begin to shape your reality, aligning your life with the divine order God intended for you from the very beginning. As we close this moment, allow your spirit to settle into the peace that is already resting upon you. You have invited God into your decisions, your direction, and your destiny. You have opened your heart to his wisdom and yielded your steps to his guidance. Carry this stillness with you. Let it follow you into your day, into your thoughts, into every place where uncertainty once lived. God is already going ahead of you. He is already preparing your path. He is already aligning what concerns you. Breathe deeply and know you are not walking into this year alone. Let your heart remain open as God continues to speak throughout the day. He will whisper in the quiet moments. He will confirm in unexpected ways. He will guide you gently, consistently, and faithfully. Do not rush. Do not force. Simply allow yourself to be led. Trust the still, small voice. Trust the peace. Trust the direction he gives you step by step. Everything you surrendered, God has received. Everything you declared, heaven has heard, and everything you are believing for is already held in God's hands. As you walk forward, move with calm confidence, move with awareness, move with sensitivity to God's presence. The same peace you feel right now is available every morning you wake up, every moment you pause to breathe, every time you align your heart with God's will. This calm is not temporary. It is a gift, a covering, a divine atmosphere you can carry with you throughout your journey. Make room for God in the small moments, and you will see him move in the big ones. Let this prayer mark the beginning of a year shaped by intention, discernment, and unshakable faith. Let it be the foundation upon which you build every decision, every plan, and every desire. When the year becomes busy, return to this place of stillness. When challenges arise, remember the alignment you've established. When you feel uncertain, speak the declarations you've learned. Step into every day knowing God is guiding you, shaping you, and surrounding you with his wisdom. And as you go, stay connected to the space of prayer and alignment. Like the video if it blessed you, subscribe to the channel for daily prayers that will continue strengthening and grounding your spirit. And comment one thing you're believing God for today. Your declaration is not just a comment. It's an act of faith. It's a seed. It's a moment of connection between you and heaven. May God's peace, guidance, and clarity rest upon you throughout this year.